Alicia here with another lightened up Weight Watcher friendly recipe, and today's recipe is going to be a quick and easy one, and that is going to be for cranberry relish. Now this was a viewer request, and this is something that I have not made in years and years and years. I had to actually break out my little old school recipe box, my little recipe cards, to find the recipe that I used years and years ago and lighten that up. So that's what I'm gonna be using to make this. Now, that being said, cranberry relish is pretty basic. If you look this up online or something, most of the recipes you find for this are gonna be very similar. And as far as cranberry relish, like I said, this is not something that I typically make. I usually do the cranberry sauce. And my understanding is the difference between the two is cranberry relish is uncooked or raw ingredients, whereas the sauce, you cook it. And I usually prefer to have my stuff cooked, but the cranberry relish is really good too. So again, it's always fun when you guys give me requests, because I end up making things that I wouldn't typically make, because I have not made this in a very, very long time. So it'll be fun to make it, lighten it up. So let me jump in real quick and show you what you're gonna need to make this. There's very few ingredients to this, and it is gonna start off with cranberries, of course. What I've got here is 12 ounces of very well washed and picked through fresh cranberries. Next up, I've got a medium apple here. I'm using a Honeycrisp today in this, but you could use whatever type that you want. And then here I've got a medium-sized orange. I'm gonna be using half of this, and what I'm gonna be doing is just cutting off the ends, taking out the seeds, and using all of it, including the peel. Next up for sweetener in this today, I'm gonna be using the Monkfruit Classic, the Lakanto brand, 3/4 cup of that. And then I'm gonna be adding a little bit of spice to this. I'm gonna use about 1/8 teaspoon ginger and 1/4 teaspoon cinnamon. Now, a lot of versions of relish have nuts in them. You could absolutely add some nuts in yours if you want, but I'm not going to today. For one thing, I want to keep this 0 points, and as it is now, it is a 0 point relish. Just wanted to point that out, that nuts are a very common thing that is added to this. Also, celery. As I said before, it's got its main ingredients, and then you can make your little alterations to make it your own. But this is how I like mine, and so that is what I'm going to be showing you today. So let me jump into this and get it started. So first off, I've got my food processor here, and I'm gonna just add in my cranberries. Okay, so now that I've got these in here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just pulse this a few times to get these chopped up into fairly small pieces. What I don't wanna do is liquefy this. So again, I'm just gonna kind of pulse it. Okay, I pulsed that about 15 times, and it's looking pretty good. There's a couple little bigger pieces, but most of it is pretty fine. And that is kind of personal preference. If you want yours more fine, obviously pulse it more, but again, you want to avoid liquefying this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and in a medium-sized bowl, I'm going to pour this in and set that aside. I'm gonna take my apple and I'm gonna core that. And I just used my apple slicer because I had it, but you could just cut it in quarters and core it, however you wanna do it. But I am leaving the skin on the apple. And then I'm gonna take it and add it into my food processor. And then I'm gonna do the same with it. I'm gonna just pulse this until I get little pieces. And I'm gonna knock this down because I want those apple pieces to be pretty small and all get in there nice and chopped. Okay, that was about 10 pulses. And here's what that's looking like. So now I'm gonna add this into my bowl with my cranberries. Then I'm gonna take my orange and I'm gonna cut the ends off of it. Cut a little more off that end. Then I'm gonna cut it in half. Take one of the halves, kind of cut that in quarters. I'm just looking for any seeds, which I don't see in this one, but if you do have seeds, you want to remove them. So now I'm gonna take that and add it into my food processor. And again, just pulse this until it's nice and finely chopped. And that's how that's looking. I like to kind of dice this a little finer than the rest of it since it's got that peel in there. And if you don't want to use the peel, you don't have to, but it does add to the overall flavor, I find. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to add it in with my cranberries and apples. I'm going to add my 3/4 cup Lakanto. You could add more if you wanted. That is another difference between the relish and the sauce though. Sauces tend to be more sweet, whereas the relish tends to not be as sweet, but that is definitely something you can add more sweetener to if you want. Then I'm gonna add my 1/4 teaspoon cinnamon and my 1/8 teaspoon ground ginger. And then I'm gonna just mix everything together really well. All right, I've got that all mixed together well. So now what you wanna do with this is you want to cover it with some plastic wrap and put it in your fridge for at least a good hour to allow all those flavors to kind of marry together. This is good made ahead at least a couple days. So if you wanted to make it a couple days before you use it, you can do that too. But you do want to let it refrigerate at least an hour or two before serving it, just for best flavor. But I'll go ahead and show you how I would garnish this to serve it. So I just transferred this to a serving bowl, added a few more whole cranberries to the top of it, and a little bit more of the orange zest. And that just makes it a little prettier for serving. But this stuff is gonna be 0 points. Now I've got this factored in at 8 servings. It's probably maybe even a little more than that. But nothing in this carries points, so it doesn't really matter how many servings you want to make this into because they're all going to be 0 points, which is really nice. Not only would this be good for Thanksgiving, it would be good for Christmas dinner. It would be great with turkey, ham. Another thing you can do with this stuff is you can add a little bit of it on top of some cream cheese, kind of make a little dip out of it. It's just really good, really versatile, and 0 points, so can't beat that. But anyway, thank you to my viewer that requested this. Again, it's always fun to do recipes that you guys request. So if you have something you would like to see, definitely let me know and I will try to get it done. But thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you on the next one.